But we have also seen through the presentations that we are getting deeper into getting the voices of the people. And I was particularly pleased to see that the community-led monitoring coming up to give that perspective, which is quite important to support us in programming. And also the client satisfaction, whether there were surveys or information that was trying to be got, gives us as programmers the other side, just aside the quantitative data. So I think for me that is something we need to promote, and I would like to encourage all of us to venture into those aspects of research. So by and large, we got a rich blend of new information. I think we've learned a lot. A lot of innovations are happening, and improvement in outcomes, as we saw from the different papers that were being shared. And as a result of this, I think some of the talking points I want to talk about is one, and this is something as we continue our partnership, Arthur, that we need to be really looking at, is after this, when we call this the post-activity meetings, or whatever activities we need to do after this, one would want to look at a synthesis of all these findings. And maybe we need to get to that level where we're synthesizing what has come out by a particular area, so that it's able to guide. Because the purpose of research is, yes, we disseminate new information, innovations, but it must be able to inform, either inform programming, inform policy shift, policy direction. So a synthesis of this is going to be one of the key learnings that we take from this. The other side about research is that it might give information that we begin to also ask, is this correct? And it makes us ask more questions. I want to give a clear example. As we were listening into the TV session, and I think Dr. Simon is here, Flavia, and there was a third presentation on TBT. So Arthur, it's interesting that when we talk about a research in TB HIV infections, at the back side of that, we've had a TPT coverage of over 90%, TPT completion rates of over 90%. We've just had, from the Quality Improvement Collaborative, an improvement in all outcomes to almost 90-something%. So my question as I was listening to this, and an area we need to discuss, is it a research in TB HIV? Is it apparent? And I don't think we can answer that now. We just need to look more at the data. Maybe we are finding more cases, because we cannot explain coverage of TPT at 95 and then say we have more cases of TB. So it's something that just triggered my mind, and I thought I would be able to look at it. So the point being that as new findings keep coming up, sometimes we need to go deeper, look at the data better, so that for us who are programming, we'll now know exactly what it is we need to do. The other opportunity and probably talking point I want to engage is, to talk about is, I noticed we just have our implementing mechanisms. And I know in our 5x3 strategy, which we are all aligned to even as a ministry, we want to see sustainability and even more transformative partnerships. So my call, and really some things we'll need to be discussing, is how do we engage more stakeholders in this? Probably take it down to the level of the regions. And my point here for me is, how do we get our district teams, how do we get our in-charges to recognize the use of data? As the implementing mechanisms present this, how do we take it back to them, but also involve them? I think for me that is food for thought, that we need to, and really for sustainability, because if the frontline health worker was presenting this information, I would be happy as a programmer and know that people are using data, they are following the science, and even if resources will go, at least capacity has been built and people are able to sustain the response for HIV, but any other public health threat. And so I wanted to just tie that up, that even as we move, how do we disseminate all this information, have a proper synthesis of it, so that even in the next summit, we build up from what the sixth one was, and we start the seventh, what it is that we've learned and what we're able to do after the last one. So without wasting time, I want to thank everybody and really to congratulate PEPFAR on this milestone once again, and we pledge our continued support in this and carrying over the findings to implement our program. Thank you very much for this.